I am good. I am good. Oh, I didn't see you there. I was utterly engaged in updating my status on you-know-where. It's so easy to get sucked into this whole social media craze. Especially you combine that with gamification, and believe me, I've got game. Well, it's just hard to resist. Like yours truly. There's a lot more on this topic, especially with regard to meetings. Let's take a look.
Welcome. I'm speaking with Rob Sipe, Digital Services, PSAV. Rob, good to see you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
The thing we want to talk about is social media and how to turn participants how to turn attendees into participants.
Right.
The premise being with social media, you can really get people engaged in your meeting and in your organization.
Yes, absolutely.
So I guess that's what we need to spend a little time talking about.
Right.
And I would like to think of it in terms of chunks. So social media in the past, social media today, and social media in the future. So let's take it in that structure and see how that works.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's break it down to social media 1.0 being the past, 2.0 being where we are today, and then 3.0 being where we want to go in the future.
Right.
And 1.0 was, there really wasn't a lot. And I'm talking back in probably 2005.
The old days.
The old days, right, in terms of social media, right? You had things like MySpace, not a lot of event integration, not a lot of things for event planners. When Facebook came out, it was very status driven, like I'm eating a sandwich right now, or probably people didn't know what to do with it, and there wasn't a lot of event integration or anything like that. Social media 2.0, where I think we are today, you see evolve, I think, with a lot of the big players like LinkedIn, like Facebook, like Twitter, with those technologies of integrating more things for events. For example, Facebook, you can do an events page. People can like your page. Once they like your page, they subscribe to your feed. And now every piece of information you put out there, unless they've hidden your feed, you have two-way dialogue with these folks all of a sudden. LinkedIn has groups that people can join, for example. So there's a lot of tools being built into social media today that people can leverage, and there's so much more adoption now with those social media platforms, especially the big ones. And there's certainly more unknown ones, but the big ones, so much more adoption. And with the adoption comes the tools that are integrated. There's just a lot more for people to do that's event driven. And I think that's where we are today. And that translates to on-site technology too. If people are tweeting and posting and things like that, how do you carry that message to the event? And you can do things like social media displays, for example, mobile event apps, for example, that all integrate that technology. And that's what's being done right now. I still think that's going to happen for the next few years. A lot of people are just getting their feet wet.
Are we in 3.0 or is it still
2.0? Yeah, a lot of people are still getting their feet wet. But
right.
I think over the next few years, as people become more comfortable with it, we'll see a lot more of that. And then 3.0 is really, I think the technology is going to drive that more as you have things like APIs, for example, which at a simple level that meeting planners can have a widget, if you will. They can drop in a Facebook widget, a LinkedIn widget, a Twitter widget onto their conference website, not have a lot of knowledge, and then they're in social media. And of course, as mobile improves and gets better, that's what's really driving a lot of this now is mobile and smartphones. Everyone's carrying a smartphone now. As that technology improves, there's going to be more integration with people's smartphones, and that's really 3.0.
Just two final questions, Rob. First, are planners starting to feel more comfortable in this area? Do you see a difference? Is it slowly becoming popularized?
I deal with this on a daily basis. I mean, it's one of my primary jobs is I deal with meeting planners all day long, and the conversation now has shifted from when I first started getting involved in this type of dialogue a few years ago, where social media was off the table for a lot of meeting planners. They perceived the risk as being too high. Potentially they didn't understand the benefit themselves, and I think opportunities were missed because I spoke earlier about how you need to set up the platforms as a meeting planner, because if you don't, what's going to happen? Somebody out there is going to do it for you. Some social media person is going to determine what your hashtag is, and they're going to make a LinkedIn group for you, and you need to be ahead of the game and manage that message yourself.
They're starting to understand better how to use social media.
Yeah, and they are.
So the conversations are getting better and richer and
exactly, and that even, I would say, goes for, just as an example, an anecdotal example, my grandma's on Facebook now.
Right.
A few years ago, my grandma would have never been on Facebook. Now she can sign up for Facebook and she can post pictures.
Well, then a planner can.
Exactly, and then a planner can. It's not as much about the why do it anymore. It's the why not. Why not do it?
So let me ask you the last question, I guess, Rob, because our title was, turning attendees into participants.
Right.
I want to make sure we've answered that. So as we end this discussion, will social media turn attendees into participants? Is it a content issue or a structure issue? I mean, how do you get them to engage?
Yeah, I think it's one of the best ways to turn attendees into participants because it's a true two-way communication. You're not just pushing information out like in a printed guide where you're dictating the information and there's no way to get real feedback. You're not doing a blast email where if you do get feedback, it's just people sending you feedback one by one, but you're really engaging them and they're engaging each other, which is important. They're interacting with each other. They're retweeting each other's tweets. They're, in something like a Facebook page, event page, you can set up a poll or an attendee can set up a poll and say, well, what do you want to see at this year's event, for example. It's really the best way, in my opinion, to engage attendees and have a true two-way conversation that's fairly unfiltered for the most part.
And it isn't just them talking to you and you to them, they're also talking to each other.
And that's huge, yeah. And they're promoting your event. When they do a retweet, people buy, they take advice and they buy from their friends. That's what they trust. And if your friend is retweeting something about an event, how great it is, that's going to resonate with you, and those people might start following you or they might be interested in your event. So absolutely, it's them spreading the word to one another and engaging each other outside of mediums that you control.
So the notion is, in a way, turning attendees into participants is creating a community.
Yeah.
This notion of exchange back and forth, and all of you.
Absolutely.
Great, Rob, thank you so much for sharing some ideas and some time with us. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
We've been speaking with Rob Sipe, Digital Services PSAV, on the issue of how to use social media to turn attendees into participants. Thank you for joining us, and please look for future episodes.